Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the New York City Council hearing for the Subcommittee on Landmarks, Public Siting, Resiliency, and Dispositions. At this time, I'd like to remind everyone to please silence all cell phones and devices, and at no point may you approach the dais. Chair, we are ready to begin.
Good morning. Welcome to the meeting of the Subcommittee on Landmarks, Public Siting, Resiliency, and Dispositions. I'm Councilmember Christopher Marte, and I am chair of the subcommittee. I'm joined today by my colleagues, Councilmember Morano. Before we begin today's agenda, I would like to remind everyone that this meeting is being held in a hybrid format. For members of the public who wish to testify remotely, we ask that you first register online, and you may do so now by visiting www.council.nyc.gov/landuse to sign up, and then sign into the Zoom and remain signed on until you have testified. For anyone with us today in person and wish to testify, if you have not already done so, please see one of the Sergeant of Arms to fill out a speaker's card, and we will call your name at the appropriate time. For anyone wishing to submit written testimony on the items being heard today, we ask that you please send it via email to landuse.testimony@council.nyc.gov, including the LU number and/or project name in the subject line of your email. Video and audio testimonies will not be accepted. I remind members of the public that this is a governmental proceeding and that decorum shall be observed at all times. As such, members of the public shall remain silent unless and until called to testify. The witness table is reserved for people who wish to testify. No video recording or photography is allowed from the witness table. Further, members of the public may not present audio or video recording as testimony, but may submit transcripts of such recordings to the sergeant for inclusion in the hearing record. On today's agenda, we have one hearing. I now open a public hearing for pre-consider LUs for an application by the New York City School Construction Authority for the site selection for a new approximately 754-seat primary and intermediate school facility located at the corner of Abingdon Avenue and East Reading Avenue and is bounded by East Perkman? How do you pronounce it? Perkman Avenue to the north. East Reading Avenue to the south, Abington Avenue to the east, and Armstrong Avenue to the west in the Great Kills neighborhood in Staten Island in the Councilmember Morano's district. Before we hear from today's applicant, I want to give the opportunity to have the local Councilmember Morano say a statement.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for doing this hearing, and thank you in general for your passion for building schools and for education in the city in general. I also want to thank the School Construction Authority for their work on this proposal and this project and getting to see firsthand the amount of work and the willingness for feedback that they consider on a proposal like this has caused me to develop a whole new appreciation and respect for the School Construction Authority. Now, when a project like this comes before us, the question is not whether change is coming to a neighborhood. The question is what kind of change we're choosing. And over the past several months, I've made it a priority to visit every public school in my district. I've walked the hallways, spoken with principals, teachers, and parents, and seen firsthand the challenges that they're dealing with. And what I saw consistently in my district was overcrowding. Classrooms stretched to capacity, spaces being used in ways that they were never intended to be used, and that's before fully accounting for the new class size mandate, which is going to require even more spaces in the years ahead. So my thinking on this project and on this location has evolved, because when you see it up close, when you hear it directly from the people on the front lines, it becomes very clear that we need more school seats in Staten Island. And this proposal would bring more than 750 new seats to our borough and help relieve pressure on nearby schools like PS 32, PS 42, PS 53, IS 24. Just as importantly, it would provide families with a modern, state-of-the-art educational facility that can serve this community for generations. But I also think it's important to speak honestly about the broader context that we're operating in. In today's City of Yes environment, vacant land like this is not going to remain vacant. If this site isn't used for a school, it's going to be used for something else. Under current zoning, it could support a significant amount of residential development, and in other parts of the city, we're seeing proposals for uses like this become battery energy storage facilities in close proximities to homes. So, while some may wish this land could remain untouched, the realistic alternative is likely something far more intensive and far more detrimental to a neighborhood than a school. So at the same time, I want to acknowledge the residents who live on and around East Reading Avenue. I've met with them, I've listened to them, I've watched as several of them have stormed out of my office as I explained that I was going to be supporting this proposal. And I've heard their concerns about traffic, about parking, and their concerns about safety. And those are real, and they deserve to be addressed. This vote today is about site selection. It's not the final word on design. The design phase is where many of these issues will be worked out, and I strongly encourage the School Construction Authority to continue engaging with the community in a meaningful way as those plans are developed, because I can tell you in my conversations with the people that live here, it's not simply a not in my backyard or not in my front yard situation. These are folks with legitimate concerns about parking, about traffic, about flooding, about ice. And I hope that once this project is designed, some of those concerns are addressed. If we take the time to get the details right, this school can become something the neighborhood embraces rather than something that it feels imposed upon it. Because schools, when done right, aren't disruptions, they're anchors. They're places where communities come together and where the next generation is shaped. And yes, if we do this right, the biggest concern on East Reading Avenue one day might just be finding a parking spot for a school play or a graduation ceremony. And that's a problem most neighborhoods would be proud to have, especially in this environment. For all those reasons, I support moving forward with this project, and I look forward to working with SCA and the community to make sure it's done the right way. Thank you.
Well said. Appearing today from SCA on this proposal is Joseph Jean-Baptiste and Andrea Bender. Those wishing to testify remotely must register online by visiting council website at council.nyc.gov/land-use. Panelists, please ensure your microphones are on. Council, would you please administer the affirmation?
Panelists, would you please raise your right hand and state your name for the record?
Andrea Bender.
Joseph Jean-Baptiste.
Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in your testimony before this subcommittee and in answer to all council member questions?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you, panelists. You may begin.
Good morning, Chair Marte and Councilmember Morano. My name is Andrea Bender. I am Vice President of External Affairs at the New York City School Construction Authority. I am joined by Joseph Jean-Baptiste, our Senior Management Specialist at the SCA. We are pleased to present, next slide, please. We are pleased to present a proposed new approximately 754-seat PSIS at East Reading Avenue between Armstrong Avenue and Abingdon Avenues in the Great Kills neighborhood of Staten Island. This proposed project, as we all know, is in Councilmember Frank Morano's district, and we thank him wholeheartedly for his partnership and support on this project. Next slide, please. Pursuant to Section 1731 of the New York State Public Authorities Law, the New York City School Construction Authority has undertaken the site selection process for a new, approximately 754-seat primary intermediate school facility located at Abingdon Avenue between East Perkiomen Avenue and East Reading Avenue, Block 5474, lots 12 through 29 in the borough of Staten Island. The site is approximately 96,000 square feet, 2.2 acres, and is located within Staten Island Community Board Number 3 and Community Education Council District Number 31. The purpose of the proposed project is to provide additional long-term capacity to relieve overcrowding in School District 31. The five-year capital plan for fiscal years 2025 to 2029 allocates capital funding to address existing overcrowding and forecasted changes in student enrollment and to support New York City Public Schools policies regarding class size reduction. During the 2023-2024 school year, Community Education Council 31's elementary schools collectively operated at 112% of their targeted capacity, as Councilmember Morano clearly noticed on his school tours. Let's see, what's on the next slide? Sorry. Next slide, please. Yes, so here we have an aerial view of the site. As you can see, it's bounded by Abingdon and Armstrong, the easement for the unbuilt East Perkiomen and East Reading Avenues. Next slide, please. The notice of filing of the site plan was published in AM New York and the City Record on May 8th, 2025, at which time CEC 31, Staten Island Community Board 3, and the City Planning Commission were notified of the proposed site plan. Community Board 3 held a public hearing on May 14th, 2025, and the Community Education Council held a public hearing on June 9th, 2025. All public comments received on the site were considered as part of the site plan. Next slide, please. So here we have some photos of the current conditions on the site, a view of the project site facing northwest from the intersection of East Reading and Abingdon, a view of the project site and the unpaved portion of the easement for East Perkiomen facing east along the paved portion, sort of the backside of the site. Next slide, please. Some more photos of the site in its current condition, view facing north along Abingdon, the project site, including the portion separated from the street with a guardrail, is visible on the right. And then the opposite picture is the view facing east along East Reading Avenue, 1 and 2 family homes across the street. And the project site is visible to the left. Next slide, please. One last view of the project area, the view facing northwest along East Reading Avenue, showing the border between the project site and the adjacent homes on block 5474. Next slide, please. The SCA affirms the site plan pursuant to Section 1731 of the New York Public Authorities Law. In accordance with Section 1732 of the Public Authorities Law, the SCA submitted the proposed site plan to the mayor and city council by letter dated February 23rd, 2026. Should SCA receive approval to acquire the property, a new PSIS will be constructed and is anticipated to open in 2031. The proposed school will include approximately 31 classrooms for pre-K through 8th grade, 2 special education classrooms, 10 District 75 classrooms, a speech resource room, a reading resource room, a music room and art room, kitchen cafeteria, library, gymatorium, guidance and medical suites, as well as general administrative and support spaces. The site plan also includes 2 at-grade play yards totaling approximately 23,700 square feet. Next slide, please. We look forward to the subcommittee's favorable consideration of the proposed plan and would be happy to answer any questions that you might have. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Councilmember Morano, do you have any questions?
Sure. I'll ask a couple of brief ones. Thank you again for all your work on this, and thank you for being so willing to address all of my substantial number of questions throughout this process. One question that did come up from a couple of neighborhood residents, and I'll ask on their behalf, is a lot of them, I think, have come to understand that a school is a positive thing for a community and certainly better than a lot of the other alternatives. But some people raised, well, does it have to be such a large school? Does it have to be 760 students and 98 faculty members? And they're concerned with the traffic and parking implications of that. Can you talk about how that size was developed and if there's any realistic prospect for making it a smaller school?
Sure. So, based on the size of the property and the need in the surrounding community, we like to, where we can, maximize our development to meet the needs of the school district in question. Um, it is important to note that we did analyze in our seeker analysis the impacts on traffic, parking, and other community resources, and along with the mitigations that our seeker analysis identified for some signalization on some area streets. There was no impact found to traffic flow in the neighborhood, and there appears to be, based on my own experience and based on the seeker findings, substantial parking able to accommodate the traffic generated by students and staff driving to the site. The impact on parking was very minimal and only reduced the available parking spaces by approximately 6%, still leaving a very significant number of spaces available. So I understand the community's concerns very much. This is a common concern that we get across the city. One of the things that often takes a minute is once the school opens and traffic patterns sort of stabilize, the impact tends to be much less than people anticipate just based on their own experience or their own anecdotal information. But our seeker analysis does show that there would be no impact to traffic and no impact to parking. And our goal here is really to maximize the development that's needed to meet the needs of the school district.
I asked you this privately, but I'll go ahead and ask it publicly for everybody's sake. Will SCA commit to holding at least one public meeting with residents during the design phase so that they can weigh in on traffic, parking, and the layout?
Certainly.
Can in terms of the entrance location, there was one design that was floating around somewhere that a couple people were, emailing me over the last couple days. Has a final decision been made on where the primary entrance will be, and will the community have input on that before it's finalized?
So when we analyze a site for a potential school, we are looking to make sure before we purchase a property, we are looking to make sure that the program that we would like can actually fit on that property. And we've got to work with DOT and other regulatory agencies to develop some kinds of assumptions to analyze traffic, parking, other impacts. So we have a conceptual plan that is in our seeker analysis that shows an entrance for the purposes of study. That is not the basis of design. We have not started design. We do not start design until we close on the property. And so when we enter into design, the architect team will look at the street grid in the area, and they will look at proposed openings that make the most sense for ease of drop-off and pickup for buses, for families. They will certainly look at how that will affect the community. I'm certainly happy to take the community's input on where the proposed entrance location that might work best for them. I'm certainly happy to relay that. What I would say is that for safety and operational reasons, we would want to reserve final decisions on those considerations to the architects.
Sure.
Again, absolutely happy to take those considerations from the community back to the design team.
You mentioned the seeker analysis. Can you confirm for the record that the Phase 1 and Phase 2 environmental reviews didn't identify any contamination that would prevent a school from being built safely on the site? I know there was some concerns about soil when people first heard about this project.
Yes, the seeker analysis identifies that the subject property has not been meaningfully developed since at least the 1920s and consists largely of native soils and historic fill, which is consistent with sites that we see pretty much everywhere in the city.
Lastly, can you briefly explain to folks why this site was selected over other potential locations, including publicly owned sites?
Sure. So at this time in this area, to our knowledge, there are not other sites that are as large and also available for acquisition at this time. That is why this site was selected. I am not aware of publicly owned sites in the immediate vicinity of this site. I'm aware of some publicly owned sites sort of elsewhere on Staten Island. We love developing on publicly owned sites where we can because it frees us from spending millions of dollars to acquire property. So if you have publicly owned sites that you'd like us to look at, please let us know. That goes for any council member. But that's why this site.
Thanks very much.
Yeah.
I would like to recognize Councilmember Thomas Henry and Councilmember Aviles. Do any other council members have any questions? No? Good. All right, thank you. This applicant panel is now excused.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Council, are there any members of the public who wish to testify on this item?
No, there are not.
Okay. If there are any remote public participants who wish to testify and have not already done so, please press the raise hand button now. And if you're here with us in person, please see one of the Sergeant at Arms to first fill out a speaker card. Nobody? All right. All right. There being no other members of the public who wish to testify regarding regarding the public SCA school site, the items are now laid over. Thank you. That concludes today's business, and I'd like to thank the members of the public, my colleagues, subcommittee council, land use staff, and the Sergeant at Arms for your participation today. Please, this meeting is now adjourned. Thank you.